Smacking off the podcast. We're here to talk about the SEC. We're here to talk about the Big Ten. We're here to talk about toothless and truthless the NCAA is. We also got one Robert Dr. Balls Arthur.
What's up?
I'm repeating. Somebody's got their speakers up loud, so let's turn the speakers down because I'm hearing a. You hear the echo, the echo, the echo, the echo. Hang on. The echo, the echo, the echo.
Oh, I hear it now.
What up? How you doing?
It sounds like it's gone, maybe.
Yeah, it's going. I mean, it's gone. It's going and it's gone.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing this. We're doing this smacking off the podcast thing that we do every week.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. The NCAA is not worth a shit. Let's go ahead and get that out on the table now. If we've not made that clear throughout the course of this podcast, I think tonight we're really going to go ahead and put that final nail in the coffin. What do you think, Doug?
So Shannon and I finally on the same team.
Okay. Oh yeah. Ed's on here. Ed Schrodner. I'm sorry, man. I don't see all the people up because our fucking producer doesn't have who's on and who's not on. Only he knows. Doug.
Oh, I'm working toward that.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. I need a list or something because it's a surprise every week. I know that Dr. Balls is here because he's joined with us every single podcast, and Ed's kind of turned into a regular here, which is kind of odd that we've allowed a Michigan fan to hang out with us.
Well, you might be happy next year if we get beat up on a little bit.
Well, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a curve. I don't know how close you paid attention to LSU a few years back when Joe Burrow was throwing bombs there, left and right. I just got out of Facebook jail, by the way. I got to bring this up because it's I don't know what my camera's doing.
How did you get into Facebook jail?
That is a great question, Ed, because I have no fucking idea. It was apparently over a photo that I had posted 8 years ago. Are you ready for what I got zucked for?
Yes.
Child exploitation.
Goodness.
To my knowledge, I've not exploited any children on Facebook, nor do I want to, wittingly or unwittingly. Apparently, unwittingly, I had exploited children 8 years ago in a picture on Facebook. That Facebook wouldn't even show me the picture. I have no idea. So I can going forward know what not to post. I have no fucking idea.
Well, at
I
least
may
they
be
acted
exploiting
timely.
children right now on Facebook and have no fucking idea.
Golly,
You know what I got for that? A 3-day ban.
damn.
Way to go, Facebook. Way to go to combat child exploitation with a 3-day ban from Facebook. I think I learned my lesson, but I don't know what lesson I learned because I don't know what fucking picture I posted. Sean Devine, what's going on?
Hey, gents, how we doing?
I'm having problems with Facebook again.
Oh, good.
I have a feeling, Sean, you keep it pretty light and simple, and you don't go to Facebook jail like we do.
Yeah, no, yeah, can't think. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, they banned me before, and I don't even know why.
I got banned for child exploitation. I have no idea what picture I posted that exploited children and was only worth 3 days. Meanwhile, I'll accidentally call somebody a bitch, which thankfully we're on this podcast and I can say the word bitch on Facebook.
Well, if you voted for Trump, I'm sure that CNN and the feds will be there with their guns at 5 o'clock in the morning.
No. I've been on a list for a while now. Past associations, which it doesn't matter.
I like
This is
lists.
up with the sniffers, man. You ever heard of the sniffers? It looks for keywords, right? There's a certain amount of keywords in whatever communications you use, and they look for it, and it triages you out to a hard drive, and it decides whether or not to send you to Quantico from there.
But I don't know. I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of different opinions about it. The older I get, the more I don't feel so bad about it because then I look at some of the cases where some of this technology has swept people up, and look into some of those cases, and yeah, I don't feel bad that those people got snitched on. A great example is that serial killer that they've recently found up in New York, that was a Giglio Beach, whatever it's called. Gila. I'm probably sure I'm mispronouncing it wrong. I'm from Alabama. I can pronounce Yankee stuff wrong, and it'd be okay.
All right, so
But yeah, they use modern technology and I think Ancestry or something like that to catch this guy. And I don't feel bad about get a guy like that off the streets.
okay, so I don't know who this is. As somebody's commenting, it just says Facebook user on my end. Says that Taylor Swift is a psyop. What else? Sean Devine is a psyop too. That's got to be Scully, doesn't it?
Yeah. Can we briefly, because that is a sports related subject, just briefly touch upon the Taylor Swift thing, because everybody's going crazy about the Taylor Swift. You have half the nation is pulling for her, the other half of the nation is just, she's a psyop, she's Illuminati, she's a NFL plant. What I don't know. There's so many other different discussions going on about Taylor Swift, and I'm Team Taylor. I love Taylor.
I mean, I could care less one way or the other. It's not football related, and I don't know why it's such a big subject.
She's at the football game. She is America's cheerleader right now. Young, thin,
Yeah, that's true.
tall, blonde, can sing pretty good. I will say this though, years and years ago when she released her debut album, and she was a youngin', she was a kid. There was auto tune was kind of still a new thing, and one of the engineers that worked on that album said it was the most arduous auto tune that he had ever done on any vocals. At that point, it stressed him out, and I think he had to smoke like 4 packs of cigarettes to be able to get through it. Take of that what you will.
So here's what we know. Facebook user, he's some sort of expert in this, I guess. He says if Kelsey proposes to Swiftie after winning the Super Bowl, 100, she's a psyop.
Why?
I don't know. Do you know?
She's a rather attractive psyop. I wish all of our psyops looked like her. I think
That's
the
just
government.
a prop bet.
I think the government could get more done if all of their operatives, their psyop operatives, look like Taylor Swift. Jennifer Lopez, that'd be a good one. Eva Mendes. Oh yeah, she could psyop me all she wanted to.
Shakira.
Yeah. I'm a big fan. Shakira's like 50 something now, right? Total MILF.
But she's beautiful and doesn't look 50.
Yeah. She can have it. But we're veering off subject. We're veering off how important Taylor Swift is to keeping the NFL going.
Well,
The NFL's been struggling until she came along. And everybody's talking about because she has a show in Tokyo like the day before the Super Bowl. And I really think in grand fashion, Taylor needs to go ahead because she's already, she's got her own plane. So she's already got a flight out. The problem is that there's going to be so many people cluttering up the airport there at Super Bowl Central that, there's going to be a tough time to park her plane. I think she needs to come out and parachute into the field.
oh yeah,
That would go over. You remember on was it Saturday Night Live or shit? Maybe it was In Living Color when Carl the Tooth Williams parachuted into the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I think what actually happened is that was based off of a real event. But if you remember correctly, and I believe it was it Jamie Foxx? Was he the guy that played Carl the Tooth Williams?
Yes.
Yeah, it was the boxer with one tooth.
the
You
Van
don't remember
Halen.
this, do you? You look confused. to me.
When you watched that show years ago, did you realize that there would be several Academy Award winners and a Grammy winner?
I don't know if I did, but I knew I was watching something that
was
cutting
good
edge.
TV.
Yeah, it was.
It was good. Fire Marshal Bill.
Didn't Van Halen parachute into the S Festival?
If they didn't, they should have. Is that the one where
I don't
Motley Crue
know that Van Halen would do that, but I would bet you $1,000 that David Lee Roth would.
I think one of them parachuted.
Oh, absolutely.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug,
Oh yeah,
said Rick James.
yeah. James,
Well, they can't parachute into that stadium in Vegas.
Sean, did you say Vegas?
Yeah,
That actually
not gonna be
happened.
able-
Yeah, it was a boxer, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, there was a boxing match that parachute fan guy flew into the match and got caught up in the ropes.
Yeah, I remember that. That's what they were spoofing on.
Yeah.
I guess it was Living Color, or maybe it was Saturday Night Live with Jamie Foxx.
But
That's
as
what
far
they were
as
spoofing.
Taylor can't jump into this stadium because there's a roof. There's a fixed roof.
Well, I mean, she's got enough money. She could probably pay somebody to climb up there and cut a Taylor-sized hole.
Yeah.
Technology being what it is, she could cut her parachute. Think about this. This would be like a Mission Impossible situation where she catches that one spot and the parachute cuts the cables, and as she descends through that hole, hits the switch on a jetpack or something, and just flies right down to the 50-yard line and gives a big old smooch on the cheek, and then quietly walks up to her press box. Everybody.
All right, so Facebook user just
She
made
is
a comment. I'm trying to figure out if I should even read this comment.
Does
It's
it
pretty
involve
offensive.
anything to do with Taylor Swift in a negative light? Because
No.
I'll have none of that.
No, it's just lesbians.
Okay.
You mean read this?
Yeah, I like lesbians.
Yeah, let's hear
Okay,
about
so
it.
you know that the FDA just approved a new drug for depressed lesbians. It's called tricoxagon. Sorry, I guess this is Scully. It's got to be Scully.
Yeah, that's a great joke.
That's I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Scully,
but
you're a hit tonight,
delivery
and you're not
lacks
even on the
so
show.
much.
You're a hit.
Yeah, the delivery
so-
lacks so much in that one, Doug. You really, if you're going to read off jokes like that, you need to put some zing into it. At least give us a rim shot at the end. You know what I'm saying?
tricoxagon.
And you know this is going on here. Okay, I can help.
Well, I mean, we would bring Scully on, but he's very distorted when he comes on. His microphone is like it's a super mega microphone on his phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
He's
like
got
all
that-
you can hear is Scully when he comes on. Huh?
He's got that fucking Yankee accent too. which Ed does too, but I don't. Ed's really nice about it. He's kind of almost Jersey about it.
Almost what?
And Scully's an
Almost
asshole about his
Jersey about
accent.
it. There's something when Chris talks. He's from what, Philly or in and around that area.
Bird.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty much same difference as far as vernacular goes. But yeah, when he talks, you really want to like just instinctively put your hand on your wallet and make sure it's safe. He's a greaser. He's a punk.
I guess Scully lives in the Pittsburgh area.
Yeah, he will always be famous for his rookie card appearance here on the podcast defending Jerry Sandusky.
Because we couldn't find anybody else. He was the only one that would do it.
A very passionate argument, I might add. A little bit too passionate for my taste. It was tough, but he handled himself admirably, like a punk would.
I don't know how you defend that dude.
Well, there's the whole conspiracy.
He did. You can go back.
Which one, Scully or Sandusky, Sean?
Well, Scully.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that happened. We allow that to happen on this show, and I think things have gone downhill ever since.
Yeah, we've never recovered from that.
Nope.
We're still trying.
That and the loss of Shannon Russell, obviously.
Goodness.
R.I.P.
We're gonna get our people to talk to her people. She'll be back on at some point. You know,
it's Sarah Reed, but R-E-I-D now. But she has us blocked from all of those accounts.
Goodness.
But she's very active in a few.
Damn it, Shannon! I just figured this whole thing out. Who Shannon Russell really is? You just did it for me.
Who?
It's my ex-girlfriend Michelle from Nicholasville in the mid-90s, right? The R-E-I-D thing, you know, and the Michelle Reed, R-E-I-D. I said, I wonder whatever happened to that person, right? And now you've totally filled a hole in my life that I've.
Shut the fuck up! You're so high right now, talking that shit.
Guys, let's take a nap and we'll be back after our nap.
That's a good idea.
All right.
Find us on the web at snackology.42web.io. There you can find our latest episode, or you can support the podcast by following our affiliate links at the top of the page. You can even buy some awesome Smacking Off merchandise. Again, that is snackology.42web.io.
We're here at Commonwealth Stadium, representing for the Kentucky Wildcats, right against the Georgia Bulldogs, right? And I'm live here, and there's fun and excitement going on. I know you can see that. This is Smacking Off, the podcast.
Hi, we're Fiverr, a global marketplace connecting individuals and businesses with freelancers offering thousands of digital services. Graphic design, web development, video editing, e-commerce marketing. You name it, there's a professional freelancer ready to make it happen. Filter your search by the service needed, budget, timeline, and boom! Fiverr provides a list of talented freelancers to meet your specific needs. Always know what you'll pay up front. No hourly rates, just project-based pricing. And because payment isn't released until you approve the work, you can rest assured that you'll be satisfied with the quality and get exactly what you want. Our support team is always available to answer questions or offer assistance when you need it. With the whole world of freelance talent at your fingertips, what might you achieve? Join today and find out. Fiverr. It starts here.
Fiverr's the shit, man.
It's called Try Cox again. Oh, that was a good one. Okay. Hi.
I'm still losing over that.
I don't write the jokes. That
wasn't that great of a joke. It's not
I mean, I didn't really feel it. I tried to read it with more feeling. I just couldn't. That's about all.
Well, I mean, it's not about feeling; it's about delivery. You can have a proper delivery and have no feeling at all. I do this with the old lady all the time in bed.
Yeah, that does deserve a clap.
All right, so
You
how
ever
about,
try
how
that,
about
honey?
this?
Y'all ever try that honey? that they sell at the gas station? The gas station honey.
No.
Can't say I have.
Never mind.
You haven't tried it either?
What are you talking
Okay,
about?
good. All right. So how about this Big 10 SEC? What the hell are they calling it again?
I think
Anybody?
alliance is a good
Alliance.
word.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
It's very WWE. It has a very WWE feel to it. Like one tag team is joining up with another tag team, and they're going to go up against Vince McMahon. I like that.
I mean, one of the things they said was one of their top priorities was the issue of athletes' compensation.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time believing they're looking into ways to give the athletes more money.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that would be their first thing on the list.
I don't think there needs to be a conference about that. If you're trying to give the athletes more money, that trust me, that the free market will make sure that they get all of that money. I think the problem is that you have some teams have a whole lot of cash and are able to buy the best players right out of the gate. Now, having said that, Doug, do you remember that really awesome class that what's his name? God, I can't remember. Jimbo Fisher had a few years ago, and what did he do with that class? How many national championships did he win with that class?
Well, he won the national championship in recruiting, so that's one.
Yes.
And then I think that
Didn't
was
he
it.
win it? Was he able to win a life championship during that? period?
He should have, but no. Most of the time
he didn't even win the life championship.
No. He should have won it the year that they beat Alabama because that was huge.
Yeah, that was huge for their program at that particular.
It was really
point
the only
in
thing
time.
that it was really the biggest win of his whole tenure there, and it amounted to nothing. So
that's what his tenure.
So Sean, how do you feel about this new Big 10 SEC thing? And be honest.
Fine with it. I think it can only be good for the sport. I mean,
do you think this is a move toward eliminating the NCAA from big time football, or is it just going to be a union of the two big conferences and the NCAA? I'm trying to figure out what their plan is here.
Oh, I think they're trying to kill it.
What do you think, Sean?
The Big Ten and the SEC want all the power in their hands to do whatever it is they decide they want to do.
And they kind of already have that now for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, not ultimately, of course, but they have chipped away. Different schools and different programs. Tennessee is doing it right now as we speak. Michigan's caught up in it. So many other high-profile teams that are part of these two conferences have had a lot of history with the NCAA. And
I'm good with it. I think the NCAA is
those court cases are swinging against the NCAA. These court cases are getting expensive for the NCAA, and they're having to give up chase historically over the past decade.
If the two biggest conferences, partner up for reforms and present that to the NCAA, I think that, would force the NCAA to look at the issue at hand and say if these are the two biggest power brokers in the game are united in whatever changes they want, you'd be foolish for the NCAA to not listen.
To not play
no, I mean, and not just listen, but submit. I mean, pretty much if the NCAA tries to go above and beyond what the SEC and Big Ten are jointly proposing, that could spell some big trouble.
Yeah, I don't know if present is the right word when it comes to the NCAA. I think it's more like this is what's going to happen, or we'll see you in front of Kavanaugh.
So the NCAA, they don't want to really relinquish any power, and yet the money brokers are wanting to dictate them what's going on. I find that interesting. And even if they do act on what the Big Ten and the SEC wants, how long is it going to take? Because they move.
I think it. I'm going to say 2 years because I don't think it's going to happen next week. And I don't think that the Big Ten and the SEC are trying to drag this out any longer than necessary.
Yeah.
I don't think they want the NCAA to go away. They just want for the money making sports things to change. I'm sure the two conferences have no interest in having the NCAA go away for the non-money making sports, because then they would take on the onus of having to run those sports championships.
Mm-hmm. So then,
but they want to run the football.
Yeah, I got a feeling this is just going to be football that they're worried about here. I mean, I don't think that
I agree.
You're going to see the Big Ten and the SEC wanting to leave the NCAA in basketball or anything. That's going to stay. But I think what they're going to say is football. Power conference football, or whatever we're going to call it now. We can't call it Power 5 anymore because we don't have that many conferences. Power football is it's its own thing now. I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I could see basketball being part of the equation later.
I hope not.
Because there's money in that too, and really they have the same kind of problems in terms of NIL and with the eligibility thing. They've been using eligibility as a weapon in order to slow down transfers in college basketball. So there's money at stake there, and they might have to go together. Otherwise, it's two completely different things in terms of governing bodies, and they won't be able to keep track of it.
I don't see basketball for quite some time. I think it's just football.
Yeah, I think basketball is rolling along just fine the way it is.
There's some hiccups, like Bob said, with the transfers, but it's not as big of an issue as it is in football.
Well, I mean, on the money end, everything is rolling really well with the basketball, and you really don't want to upset that. And the NCAA has handled this.
But it does seem like the basketball money moves around more. It's spread around more. Is that a fair statement?
I don't know. I think that it kind of stays. I think it kind of stays a lot like college football, that the biggest money is still going to the biggest blue bloods. But in general, yes, they spread it around more. You have more of an opportunity.
You still have a lot of other programs that are still in the hunt.
That's right.
St.
That's right.
Joe's,
you got a lot more basketball
like
teams that are
you know.
capable of winning the whole thing.
Xavier.
That's right. I agree. There's a lot more.
Absolutely. I mean, in a given year, how many teams in basketball do you think have a legit chance at winning the national championship? I mean, it's 50. Way higher than football.
I'd say 15.
I'd say 15 to 25, depending on the year.
But it's not always the same 15 to 25, and in football it is.
This is true.
And the list is not that big in football.
I mean, there's a few teams. You have Kansas, you have Kentucky, you have some of your the upper echelon of elite that are usually, barring any kind of major meltdown, usually in the hunt for the tournament.
Sure.
I feel like college football, you're looking at a list of about 10 teams that's got a legitimate shot.
Yeah, out of 133, that's a very small percentage.
It is.
And that gets boring after a while. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Unless you were an Alabama fan during the Saban reign.
See how God does his thing.
I found last season anything but boring.
Last season was a yawn fest. How many titles does Michigan have, Sean, in the last 70 years?
Oh, what is that? Now they have 2.5.
Oh,
well, not 70.
Well,
no,
I should make it
75 years. Yeah, 2.5.
Okay, so at 70, we're looking at 1.5, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But before 1920, what was it, like 15?
9
or 10.
No, yeah, because it's 12 overall.
It's back when they wore leather helmets.
Back when Gerald Ford was their fullback.
You could do that back then. You could just.
That was even before, Jerry Ford, Bob.
The press,
man.
the fullback.
You know, there's pads and mouth guard bullshit. They just kept it real. Bloodied each other.
Many of them came before I think the league
we'd have got one more if the Big Ten Conference didn't screw us out of going to the Rose Bowl after that 10-10 tie against the Bucks.
Yeah,
What year was that?
Usually,
70.
Usually Michigan would go out to the Rose Bowl and lay an egg under Shem Beckler. So
that's a true story.
Shem Beckler,
the Rose Bowl, man.
2 wins and 15 losses or something like that.
Jeez.
His bowl
and
record
the more important the game,
Sterling.
the more important the game for Shem Beckler, the more chance he was going to lose.
Generally, yeah. For being such a revered coach there, I don't think he won any national championships.
Well,
At least he didn't come out on the field.
They've got one that was awarded by somebody, but I don't think Michigan claims it. It was in the late 60s or early 70s. I don't remember.
Out of all that cheating they did last year, they shouldn't claim that last one either, but whatever.
They were the Ann Arbor Gazette awarded them.
We're claiming it.
Ed, are you here to forfeit this title?
For now, go ahead and put your asterisk beside it now to go ahead and beat the rush.
Yeah.
Nope.
Ed, are you here to forfeit this title?
Am I what?
Are you here to
Not
forfeit?
yet, Doug.
Are you here to forfeit the title?
It's too soon. Let him continue to celebrate. It's
4/5 of a title. No, it's 100% of a title. That's it.
No. Forfeit. Forfeit.
That means to give that.
Oh, that won't happen.
You'll know what forfeit means here in the next year or two.
We'll get that nice
motherfucker.
Nice lady that stood up on the podium. We're taking the banners down in the Breslin Center. We've seen that happen before.
If it happens, that will mean nothing to me. I saw us win it on the field. I won't. It's fine. Who cares?
I got you.
We won.
That's how I feel about USC in 2004.
I just referenced Reggie Bush, so we'll talk about that.
All right, so y'all want to take another nap and then come back and talk some basketball?
Sure, why not?
All righty.
Let's do it.
You are now watching or listening to Smacking Off the Podcast. If you love it, tell your friends about it. If you hate it, share it with your enemies.
It was just a small gift from Mummy and Daddy. One, however, that would spark a bit of an obsession. It started out innocent enough, as these things always do, but quickly lit the fuse to something bigger. Mum and Dad encouraged other activities, but alas, had to sell things almost as fast as they bought them. Friends and family thought it was cute. It's just a bit of fun, they said. It's just a phase, they said. Well, it's all fun and games until your child is 34, still lives at home, and absolutely nothing has changed. These things should really come with a warning label. Buy, sell, eBay.
You are now streaming Smacking Off the Podcast. You can keep up with our current activity on Facebook at Smacking Off or Smackologists. Find us on YouTube at Smacking Off the Podcast. And stay right where you are. More Smacking Off the Podcast is headed your way.
Hey, this is Kyle Golick of the Smacking Off the Podcast. I'm at the Basketball Hall of Fame. You don't need to come to Springfield, Massachusetts. We got our own Hall of Fame analyst in Dr. Balls.
Dr. Balls is a presentation of Smacking Off the Podcast.
Dr. Balls. the state of college hoops.
Welcome back. Just back off the podcast.
Oh, that's my only clap track right there.
I
had to do it manually. I had to do it manually.
It's hard to get excited after Kentucky loses to Tennessee at Rupp Arena in ignominious fashion. You know.
Yeah, I noticed there were some Kentucky people angry. Was that last night?
Yeah.
Okay, they lost to Florida here recently too, did they not?
Yes. So they had 2 stinkers here lately. So it's, I predicted they'd look like a team that would win the Natty, but ever since then, they fell off. Now the bench got a little shorter. There were a couple guys that Dillingham was out against Florida and Dew Theory but I'm not making no excuses. They just stopped playing no defense. That score 102-93. I mean, in regulation, there's just no defense being played. So it's tough. And it was a tough loss also for Creighton against Butler. We talked about that game. You remember it, Sean?
We did. I mean, Butler couldn't miss. They shot nearly 60% from the field, and I think they only missed 5 3-pointers of the 22 or 23 they attempted in the game. And Telfort, their shooting forward, was incredible. Hung with them the whole game. The defense was the issue for both teams in that game. Final score was 99-98. So, the problem for us, Thad Mata really got a lot out of his bench. Their bench outscored our bench 22-4. And for whatever reason, Mac just wasn't, he wasn't comfortable with a couple of guys on the bench playing them. So we really only played 7 guys in that game. But tip of the cap to Butler. They've gone into our building and won. They went up to Marquette and won in their building. So they're playing good, and they're a dangerous team right now.
Yeah. So that's what's interesting though is that teams can recover from losses like that, and they can still yet do well. I mean, sad as it is, and as far as Kentucky goes, it's a bad time because both Alabama and Auburn are heating up, guys.
Like, really, the hottest team in the SEC is South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina has been hot lately for sure.
I mean, they went into Tennessee and beat them. That was a really great game. I beat you guys, if I recall, and then they went into Georgia and beat Georgia. So, to me, South Carolina is the out of nowhere hottest team this year.
Oh yeah, for sure. But Alabama's heating up, and Auburn's on a little bit of a streak too. So it's a tough league. And also another interesting game is Kansas. I don't know if you call it upset. We're ranked number 8 and beat Houston, who was ranked number 4.
Yeah, that was in Lawrence. It's tough to go into the fog and win on the road. Kansas is a very good team. That made them 18-4. Houston took that loss to go to 19-3. So they're tied atop the Big 12 conference. Both are very good. But yeah, I mean, going on the road to some of these places, that's why it was shocking, like you said, what Tennessee did at Kentucky. But Kansas and Lawrence is extraordinarily difficult to win at. I was impressed by what Kansas did the other night. I mean, same North Carolina, the Dean Dome, tough to win at. Duke was valiant, but Carolina was too much for them. And today the shocker was, I didn't think Purdue would be able to go into Madison and win that game, and they did, and they looked pretty dominant in it. So
yeah, I caught some of that game, and Purdue looked really good. Wisconsin tried to hold on, but they just couldn't make the plays that they needed to when it was time. And
I think they missed like all 8 of their threes they attempted in the last 10 minutes of that game. Could not make a shot from behind the arc.
And the worst part about it is they could have taken 2s during that time and closed the game and went for the 3. It was kind of frustrating to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think their goal is, to shoot the 3s. That way they don't have to go inside and deal with, Zach Edey, who's to me, barreling his way towards another Player of the Year award. because he was his usual dominant self.
You know what? 80 is interesting, Sean, because I think that the NBA now is coming back around to the big man, and he's waiting a year to go out, and if he could get a second player of the year, it's probably going to bode well for him in the draft.
If he could find a jump shot, he'd be lethal in the NBA with his, with that size. I still think he'll get drafted. Just you put him out there on defense. He's what 7'3", 7'4", whatever he is.
Yeah, he's big.
That's just a problem. It just simply just how big he is. He's gotten a little bit of move to his game when he gets the ball down low. He can spin. He's got a little bit of a hook shot, but if he could just develop a little further out a jump shot, he'd be very lethal at the next level. But he was a problem all day today for Wisconsin. They tried 3 different guys on him and none really worked. So Purdue continues to roll on. UConn went into the Garden and basically swatted away everything St. John's could throw at them the other day, 77-64. Great game today. Illinois beat Nebraska in overtime. That was an exciting game for the few games that we had today. Rankings shakeup. We'll see a few. We'll see. Oklahoma's going to drop out of the rankings after losing to Central Florida yesterday, and as we predicted.
Yeah, I don't think that they just ain't got it. They're going to fall off, and that's a tough conference in the Big 12. But they just didn't live up to their preseason promise. Like you said, they didn't play nobody.
Yeah.
So therefore, adios to them. Whereas Texas Tech had a loss to Cincinnati. I'm just looking at the schedule, and the most important games that were played were in the Big 12. Iowa State and Baylor.
That was a great game. The Iowa State Baylor game went down to the wire. Baylor holds on at home with a 2-point win. Iowa State and Baylor right behind Houston and Kansas in that conference. I mean, it's like you said, it's been top to bottom. It's probably the best league this year, and the games have been really good. BYU beat West Virginia the other day, and I could swear they were down, double digits for for quite a bit of time in that game, and they rallied. And BYU is playing some really nice basketball right now. They came back and won that game, in Morgantown by 13. So don't sleep on BYU. They're playing good basketball.
So you look at the Big 12 slate, and heck, I mean, there might be 3. You can see 3 or 4 teams on the Big 12 that could possibly go to the Final Four.
Absolutely, yeah. There's enough talent. Yeah, the Big 12 is loaded with talent for sure. There any number of those the first 5 could probably do it. There's that much talent. Kansas, Houston, Baylor, Iowa State, and Texas Tech. Man, they're really good too. But it's just a grind in that conference. And you look at the bottom of the league. West Virginia and Oklahoma State are at the bottom of the conference, and you watch them. Those teams would probably be very competitive in other conferences. The problem is they're in the Big 12, and it's just simply loaded.
Oh yeah, and I will give a little shout out to Nikki. Her Horned Frogs lost to Texas, but they were ranked. And and Texas is not even ranked, and they're dangerous.
Right. Yeah. I say Texas is not ranked, and you'd hate to see them come to your building because they still play a pretty good brand of basketball as well. It's playing really well. That's SEC's right there. It's fun watching SEC. ACC, we're starting to see that separation between who's good and then who's not. And right now, to me, it's more there's less good than there is bad in the ACC. To me, it's really the cream has risen to the top, and it's the usual suspects.
Randy Macho Man Savage. Let's give that quote credit.
Yes.
Credit's due.
R.I.P. Randy Savage. But yeah, North Carolina, Virginia, Duke,
rises to the top.
I mean, those 4 are really it in the ACC. The rest I've watched. Miami tries, but they're not the Miami of last year. Syracuse is still pretty average after Boeheim retired. Pitt and Virginia Tech, you never know who's going to show up. Some nights they look great, other nights they look like garbage. And then the bottom of the conference is Georgia Tech, Louisville, and Notre Dame. They've had a couple of upset wins, but they're not going anywhere.
No.
So the ACC to me is probably the easiest of the power conferences to kind of, figure out at this point.
Which is unusual. And the reason I mentioned Alabama earlier is Alabama's win over Mississippi State was interesting because Mississippi State was pretty powerful earlier in the year, and Alabama basically shrugged them aside. Of course, when they're hitting their shots, they're hard to beat. But even though Alabama had some early season losses, they're still in the SEC hunt right now. And I think they've only got 2 losses in the league. So Alabama ain't done, and neither is Auburn, even though Tennessee's looking pretty damn powerful. So,
I was surprised that Alabama made short work of Mississippi State the other day. That game wasn't close for very long. Alabama rolled them up pretty well. Alabama still sits in first. They have just one conference loss. But Auburn and South Carolina are right on their tails at 7-2. Tennessee hasn't played that 9th game yet. They're at 6-2. But credit to Auburn. They're going into Ole Miss. Ole Miss was riding high after their win the other night, and Auburn was down in that game. And I thought Ole Miss was going to put them away, and instead Auburn went on a run and put Ole Miss away. I was kind of shocked by that. I didn't think they'd win that game. So, yeah, top of the SEC, Tennessee, Auburn, South Carolina, Alabama. Kentucky can find some defense. You guys would be up there, but so far the last 2 games I've watched, you guys are giving up way too many points.
Yeah, they're not playing defense well at all, and like a lot of freshman teams, they're not resilient. They didn't take that smack in the mouth and go ahead with it, which is kind of disappointing to me. But there's a lot of time before the tournament, and hopefully they'll recover. They a couple losses can hurt you in seeding, especially at this time of year, but they can't run you off the tournament. I don't think this is going to run Kentucky off the tournament or nothing like that, but they're obviously been exposed to not having no defense. Now, Stan, I see the reason I brought up Alabama was Alabama getting close continuing in college basketball reminds me a lot of in college football in Kentucky. When they get close, they can only get so close, and then something yanks it out from underneath the rug. And so being an Alabama basketball fan to me is what it feels like being a Kentucky football fan, is that you smell that you're close, but as soon as it gets close, they yank it under the rug. But so that's what I would like to see Alabama this year, is them move on to the next step.
Well, Alabama's.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, Alabama's the best they've ever done. It wasn't probably the best team, but they made the Elite 8 one time, I believe, and that's the highest that Alabama's ever been.
I think
and plus too, we haven't really been used to success. Not nearly as much as Kentucky over the years. It's really just as of late. We had a couple good Wimp Sanderson teams back in the 80s and the 90s there. But
there was a really good Alabama team, and I believe it was 1976, and that was C.M. Newton was the head coach.
Yeah,
and that team, people swear that team really beat Indiana, which Indiana went undefeated that season, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
I watched a documentary on that, and even Bob Knight said that Alabama actually beat them, but there were bad calls in the game, which I've never heard a coach actually say that about their own team. And I don't know.
Bobby Knight,
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that was. I guess that was in the Sweet 16.
But that's the equivalent of a life championship, though, if you want to get down to it.
No, absolutely.
Just an endorsement by Bob Knight, but no official record of it. Yeah, that's a life championship.
Yep.
I can't accept that. Not for real.
No doubt. And Bobby Knight, he was he was a certain kind of character, but he was kind of a fair person. So I guess he wanted to be fair, but he was also kind of a.
He's one of the greatest to coach the game. Let's be honest about it. I mean, there was some discrepancies in him slapping some players upside the head, but I mean, you got to get them kids to learn something, and sometimes that's what it takes for thick-headed young men.
So
slap upside the head.
The reason that game might have had poor calls for Alabama, that was a tournament game, as Doug said, in the Sweet 16, but it was hosted by Baton Rouge at LSU. So
maybe that explains it. I mean, I was very young and I didn't watch basketball.
And to be fair, that was long before the now infamous rivalry between the two schools. It was a very lopsided affair, pretty much, because LSU was a little technical college on the edge of Louisiana. There, Baton Rouge didn't have much going on.
Well, they had Pistol Pete just a few years before, right?
That's true. That's true.
So they had, with Chris Maravich as coach and Pete Maravich playing, they had this, and around the time that they transitioned from Adolph Rupp to stinking Joby Hall at Kentucky, so they had a little bit of success, and there was some animosity there. And CM Newton, I don't think he loved Press Maravich, and CM Newton was a nice guy. So
do you think maybe that we need to get the police to kind of open the books on this and see if there's any charges need to be filed? Maybe we can win that championship. We need Landon Beeman on this. Hashtag inside sources. Landon Beeman can make something like this happen.
He can make it happen.
And then, to our point earlier of how many teams can. So, looking it up, there are 15 different teams that have won multiple NCAA tournaments, and then there are obviously more than that have just a lone championship. And then the power conferences. The ACC has 15 championships. The Pac-12 has 15. SEC with 11, Big Ten with 10, and Big East with 9. So it's pretty evenly distributed amongst the power.
So I would really, if you just have more than one NCAA tournament championship, that would pretty much just make you a automatic blue blood, right?
No,
that's a very exclusive club.
It's
5.
It's technically it's 5, but with Kansas they only have 4, but they're included as a blue blood because of all the other things, having Naismith coach there and whatnot. But generally, the number's 5. So with UConn just joining that group last year with their championship.
Villanova.
How many titles does Michigan have?
2, ain't it?
1, I think. Just 89.
Go with Fisher.
Okay, no blue blood for Michigan there, Ed.
No,
we won't allow it.
Now, was that the year that they claimed they won a national championship in football and basketball at the same time? I had a shot glass. A friend of mine that was a Michigan fan had they claimed they won both national championships that year.
Well, let me see.
I don't think so.
Y'all go off of memory.
Not 89. I don't think that's.
I think they did win the title in 89 or 90. Let me look. I remember them winning it right around the turn of the decade there, but
yeah, because and Washington won one around there too. I find that ironic. But anyway, they had a shot glass where the Michigan claimed the basketball title, the football title on the shot glass, right? That I don't know.
They definitely didn't win no football title around that time. Michigan did win the title in 1989. Steve Fisher was the coach.
Yeah, Steve Fisher.
Yeah, I think they beat who? They beat Seton Hall in that game, if memory serves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seton Hall.
That's what Seton Hall had that guy, Jamel Holloway, that we were talking about the other day. And they, who's now a pretty good coach, which is the Big East has been pretty tough, but he's a pretty good coach. And I remember that team pretty well. And we talked about championships being vacated. Well, Louisville won a national championship in basketball in 2013, and they vacated it, right?
Yep.
And they pulled the banner down, right? So only in Rick Pitino's mind does that championship still exist. But the team that nobody remembers, the team that got seeded the championship, right? So they're not really the champions. So even if they take Michigan's championship in football because they're scandal and their claims of cheating, right? Nobody's going to remember who was number 2 because they didn't earn it.
Sure. Yeah. I'd agree with that. It's too bad that Louisville team was, you know, had that title taken away because then, I think, didn't Kentucky win the year prior in 12?
Yeah, in 2012.
Two teams in 2 years in the same state. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That'd have been
interesting. I think Louisville's only got the one, correct?
No, that would have been number 3 because they won 1 in 80 and 1 in 86.
Yeah, I just remember 86. I forgot 80 is a little before my time. That's right, 80.
Yeah, that's what they had. The Doctors of Dunk was 80. They always had championship teams that live for the Doctors of Dunk. I think that's a good name for a basketball team, though. I'd love to be referred as the Doctor of Dunk, in basketball.
You know what, Robert? I had never heard of Joe B. Hall before, and he's a national championship winning coach at Kentucky. I'm just looking through the lists here.
You'd never heard of Joe B. Hall?
No.
Joe B. Hall went from being one of the most beloved figures, again, still is one of the most beloved figures of Kentucky. But what happened to him is he made a coaching mistake in 1984 that was perilous. And what was happening was, in the Final Four, they were playing Georgetown. Kentucky had what they called the Twin Towers. They had Bowie and Turpin, both of them NBA players. And most of y'all heard of Bowie because he got picked over Jordan. But anyway, and Georgetown had Patrick Ewing, and they were dominating Georgetown. In the first half, they had a 20-point lead in the first half, and Joe B. Hall decides to play stall ball in the second half. And the only person he let shoot the ball in the second half was a relatively unknown guard named Jim Masters, and Kentucky ends up losing the game by 4, even though there were less than 30 points scored by both teams in the second half. So he decides to play stall ball for an entire half and cost Kentucky a national championship. And next thing you know, we got Eddie Sutton. So that tells you anybody can be fired, because Joe B. Hall was a beloved figure,
Well, that was my first time of hearing of him. I knew that Kentucky had a 70s title, but I didn't know who the coach was.
Well, what makes Joe B. Hall, the most famous thing about Joe B. Hall is not winning the 1978 national championship. It's in the 1977 when it looked like Indiana was going to have a second run at being undefeated. And at halftime, they walked through the same tunnel in the Kentucky-Indiana game, and Bobby Knight smacked Joe B. Hall in the back of his bald head, right, as they went through the tunnel. And then Kentucky was inspired by whatever happened in the locker room to come back and crush Indiana in their championship aspirations.
Awesome. So what's on the horizon this week, guys?
Well, now we're in the grind part of college basketball, right? And all these games are starting to really matter. And that's what's on the plate, is that every game in every major conference now matters, and it counts towards seeding. And you can't afford to drop anymore. You can't afford to not play defense like Kentucky did. So tomorrow you got Kansas and Kansas State. I think that's going to be a hell of a game. That's going to be your Monday matchup. Right, if you ain't got no sports on Monday, Kansas State.
Yeah, I like the Sunflower State, showdown. I like that one. That's that it's definitely not a big. Maybe you give Miami at Virginia a little watch if you have time before that one. But yeah, Monday kind of a light slate on Monday.
But on Tuesday you got BYU and Oklahoma. Might be decent.
I think that will be a good game. I think Wake Forest at Georgia Tech will be a good game. It'll be watchable.
UConn might be more interesting than people think. If Butler comes on a shooting streak against Creighton.
Yeah, I mean, if Butler makes shots like that, then sure they'll play with UConn. But if they don't, I think UConn blow them out of the gym.
The game that matters this week, though, is Auburn and Alabama. Number 24 Alabama against number 16 Auburn, Wednesday at 7:00, guys.
That one's going to be a great one, but
I don't think it's going to be a great one for Alabama people to watch.
Why?
Because I think Auburn's going to win, and I don't think it's going to be that close. I think Auburn will get separation in the second half, and it's just nobody's going to be wondering who's going to win this game with 5 minutes left. That's my opinion.
I hope you're wrong.
I'll be wrong.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong too. But that's the way that goes typically in this series.
Texas Tech at Baylor, I think, is going to be a great game this week. Yeah. People should keep an eye out for that. Ole Miss to South Carolina. Let's see if South Carolina keeps it rolling. I think that'll be an interesting game, as well as the Auburn Alabama game. Trying to see if we got any other big ones this week. Villanova at Xavier. I think that'll be a good one.
Hell yeah.
What else?
Dayton at St. Joseph's might be interesting.
Dayton at St. Joseph's, I think, will be good for sure. Murray State at Belmont is going to be a good game in that conference. And then somebody's going to have to win the Pac-12, and I think UCLA at Stanford will be an interesting game. Because right now it's, you look at the standings in the Pac-12, somebody's going to have to win the conference, and it's last year. But right now, no one is really showing
that they're going to step up and make it happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we thought for a while it'd be Arizona. Then they kind of lost some games. Then we thought it might be UCLA. No, they lost some games. USC has lost games. Oregon started off strong. Now they've gone on to lose some games. So, you're sitting here looking at, the Pac-12 going, who's going to win this conference this year?
Okay.
You get three teams at 7-4, 6-4. Arizona, Oregon, Washington State, Stanford. Utah is right behind them, as is Colorado. I mean, nobody has anything but at least 4 losses or more in conference, let alone looking at their non-conference records, which aren't great. So
I bet you their conference tournament's going to be exciting then.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, we might see somebody that, has a, 500 record win that conference and punch their ticket to the big tournament. And that, unfortunately, that's going to have a secondary and tertiary effect of moving other teams, lower in the seeding or their bubble might get burst,
Oh, yeah.
That's why it's like I'm keeping an eye on the basketball has been very, great to watch. It can be clunky, but somebody has to come out of it, So keeping an eye on that on that conference as well this week.
Well, I'm working in Cleveland these guys this week,
okay,
guys.
So I'm declaring this.
What's that?
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying.
If Alabama goes to Auburn and wins, if Alabama goes to Auburn and wins, then this is going to be they're going to the they're getting at least to the Sweet 16 in the tournament.
I can see that.
That's my declaration.
Fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all kind of think they'll probably get to the Sweet 16. I mean, depending on their draw.
I mean, they may even if they don't, but I mean, they don't win at Auburn typically when Auburn's got a good team, and typically Auburn has a lot of trouble winning in Tuscaloosa as well. So
it's going to be a great game. I hope it is a great game. I'm excited to see that one. For sure.
All right, do y'all want me to shut this off so we can go to bed?
Yeah, let's shut this off so we can go to bed.
Night, y'all.
Good night, guys.
Night,
Ed,
guys.
appreciate you being on, Ed.
Ed left.
Thank you for supporting Smacking Off the Podcast on the X's and O's Network.
Be sure to keep up with our scheduled live casts and other presentations on Facebook at Smackologists or at Smacking Off, and on our YouTube channel at Smacking Off the Podcast.